On the phone, he was eager. He used the rock as a doorstop but needed to view it immediately. He jumped out of the automobile after an eternity. The expert stared at the rock, confused. He said, "What is this?" That's when Ben recognized his life would alter drastically. As they negotiated on a price for the old home and its surrounds, Ben smiled at the old couple. They shook, and he moved in instantly. It was his farm. He now had the life. He just needed cows, pigs, and crops like the old-timer. Despite never owning a farm, he was eager to learn. He saw something as they left. Ben wanted to know more about the Dexter, Michigan, farm he wanted to buy. After touring the property, he couldn't resist. He thought it might be silly to ask about a doorstop while viewing a property. The owner's straight-faced response only confused him. Ben noticed something odd as he left the farmhouse smiling. He asked the old man who sold him the property what it was. It was a doorstop, the man smiled. The rock kept the barn doors open for over 50 years. He thought the old man's father told him it was special to get him excited about feeding the pigs. Ben shook the old man again. The old man told him to use the rock because it was valuable. Walking to his old truck, he winked. Ben agreed despite not understanding. After the couple and real estate agent left, he was alone on the farm. He had keys to the front gate and all house doors. He walked his property because he was so pleased with his purchase. Ben Olson always wanted a farm. Since his father was forced to sell their land when he was young, he dreamed of regaining that lifestyle, even if he couldn't get the same property. If you like my videos, don't forget to like or subscribe. Thanks in advance. His father would be thrilled. Ben would let him live on the property and help out in retirement. It would please his father. He had no idea this new farm was more than it appeared. Ben walked around his property and smelled the wet compacted dirt and rain in the trees. He imagined he could grow any crops his dad wanted in the open field behind the barn. It was odd that the previous farmers hadn't planted crops. After approaching, he saw something. He needed answers about the strange field. Ben noticed a small field crater. Why hadn't they planted crops there? It was also unusual. He called the previous owner immediately. He needed answers, and only the old man could provide them. When the old-timer answered, he seemed surprised to hear from Ben an hour after he bought the property. Ben explained why he was calling, and the man went silent. Ben could tell he wasn't talking. Had they defrauded him? He then received a riddle. He said it all came back to the rock. Ben had never seen such a rock. Rock? Ben asked him to talk. The farmer revealed it wasn't from our world. The farmer told a long, fictional story about the rock with sincerity. The old man sighed and recounted the mid-1960s Michigan sightings that led to one of Dexter's most famous legends. Frank Manna, the man's father, was relaxing in their farmhouse at 8:30 p.m. on the 20th of March 1966, when he and his teenage son saw lights in the sky. The old man said his father and older brother Roland watched a strange object land on their farm from the farmhouse windows. Frank and Roland ran to investigate, but what they saw shocked them. The mysterious light hovered silently over their farm's marsh. Frank said the object disappeared and reappeared 500 yards away seconds later. Frank heard a rifle bullet ricocheting off an object before the light went out. Frank Manna's police report revealed that they weren't the only ones who saw something strange that night. Several police officers patrolling the area had seen something, and others had reported sightings all week. Dexter, Michigan, was the epicenter of dozens of night sky sightings. Senators, police, and governors reported sightings. Northwestern University astrophysicist J. Allen Hynek visited Dexter to investigate. He concluded that the people had seen something but attributed the sightings to marsh vegetation rotting and releasing gases that could produce light and sound. The old man's story only got stranger. The old man said that a few weeks after the sightings, his father and older brother saw something fall at night on their property and make a heck of a noise when it hit. His father found the crater and extracted the strange object in the morning. It was still warm, the old man said. Ben was confused. Why was it a doorstop? After the call, Ben had more questions than answers. The old man told him about the barn doorstop. He investigated. He returned to the barn and found the rock on the ground. Since the rock was muddy, he knew it had been there a while. It was still intriguing. The thought of the strange rock being used as a doorstop may have colored Ben's opinion of the dull object. If someone used something as worthless for 30 or 40 years, it must be worthless, right? The rock remained on the barn floor, propping open the door, for 8 years. Meteorite shower. Ben had a family, and they all knew the rock was special but unappreciated. They took a piece of another world for granted until more rocks fell from the sky and the evening news started covering them. After a 2018 meteor shower, Michigan residents found meteorites in their backyards. They weren't doorstops. Many people realized that Michigan's little space rocks could be sold for a tidy sum. Ben thought the rock his kids had taken to school for show and tell may have more to it after the meteorite craze. But first, Ben had to determine if his strange stone was real or if a farmer was making up stories to spice up his quiet country life or add intrigue and mystery to the farm he was selling. Was this a meteorite or an unusual rock? To find out, Ben called. Since Ben had a friend who studied geology at Central Michigan University, it was easy to find out who to contact if you find a meteorite. He called CMU Professor Nestor. She examined the rock but was pessimistic. She was wrong. He knew who to call after hearing from the old farmer. He called another professor from the state's university. After describing the rock, the man seemed nervous. Why were 2 people on the rock but not him? The professor promised to visit the farm in an hour. The man on the phone dropped everything to come out and look at his doorstop rock, so it must have been important to him. The man exited the car an hour later. "Do you know what you found?" the expert stammered after seeing his rock. Ben realized this was the end then. His life would change. The geology professor had examined hundreds of suspected meteorites and seen every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Only a few extraterrestrial objects were anything other than rocks. Dr. Detton said that most meteorite suspects are meteorons. He recognized the doorstop immediately. Further testing was needed. The expert told Ben that the 50-year-old doorstop was much older. If they knew it was used arbitrarily, specialists would be furious. Ben inquired about its impact. The expert said finding something this big was like finding the Holy Grail in his field. Just getting it would be worth a lot. The professor then sent 2 small rock slices to Smithsonian Dr. Mona Serbescu for confirmation. "I immediately knew this was special," he said. "It's the most valuable specimen I've ever held, monetarily and scientifically." If it was what they thought, the professor thought it could sell for $100,000. The news stunned Ben. Ben's meteorite was Michigan's 6th largest space rock, weighing over 22 pounds. Dr. Detton believed the rock would sell for a ton at auction with this pedigree. He recounted his initial process before sending the specimens. "Just before I did that, we used an X-ray fluorescence instrument, or XRF, to connect the chemical composition, and that fell right in the field where it belongs in terms of iron and nickel concentration." Separately, Dr. Carrie Corrigan at the Smithsonian conducted another microscopy, and she confirmed without a doubt that it is an iron meteorite. Describe this rock. Dr. Mona Serbescu adds, "The whole meteorite is basically a metallic object. It's irregular. As the meteorite burns, partial melting causes thumbprint-like indentations. Widmanstatin proves its authenticity." How? After adding acid, the fresh surface shows the Widmanstatin pattern. That pattern's unique. Earth cannot reproduce it. It's unfakeable. Dr. Mona Serbescu completed. The expert described his best meteorite find. Just to study it with expert tools would be priceless. Ben was amazed. Special rock. After seeing how much it meant to geologists, he felt torn. It was his most precious possession. However, he knew that scientists could use it. His actions. Geologist Catherine Corrigan examined the stone first. Few tests confirmed it. She could confirm Dr. Serbescu's findings and watch Ben's incredible discovery unfold. He could sell the meteorite to a museum or a profit-seeking private collector. Ben was determined to use meteorite proceeds. Ben was assured that the meteorite would be sold to a Smithsonian-like museum after study. He and thousands of others could admire the rock. He thought it was fair to share the meteorite with others. He could also fix his farm equipment and start a college fund for his kids. Ben chose. He sold the rock to the museum after studying it. He could buy everything he needed for the farm with the huge sum being offered. Another lab found rare elements in meteor samples, increasing their value. Ben counted his lucky stars that his property came with more than just a farm, it came with a secure and promising future for him and his family. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again in the next video.